What is going on, everyone? We have a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. Just a massive leak from that's come out of the hearing, the FTC Microsoft hearing a few months ago. This is just huge. I can't recall a leak this big in quite some time. It's just astonishing. We have confirmation of a new Xbox. We have Phil Spencer discussing his next acquisition target. We have Phil Spencer discussing the reveal of the Xbox Series X in 2020 and his thoughts on the Xbox ecosystem and the hardware they just released or announced, I should say. And now we're getting news. Believe this or not, we're I tell you, this just keeps getting better. We're getting news that, according to VGC News, Microsoft was reportedly responsible for the massive leak, which has revealed a host of confidential details about its gaming business, including plans for unannounced console hardware and games. So, I don't even know. Frankly, I don't even know where to begin. I really don't know where to begin. I guess. First of all, let me just give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. This is a very impromptu rant. I didn't even advertise this on Twitter, so we have about 21 people here watching. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in, kind of at the last minute here. But there's just a lot to talk about, and we will probably discuss more of the leaks tomorrow on our regular scheduled BRAP. But I wanted to. Just discuss some quick things that have leaked, some big things that have leaked. And again, it's being reported now. This is VGC News saying that Microsoft is actually behind this leak, which is interesting. But one of the things that's come out from this leak is that Xbox leaders showed off what's been codenamed Brooklyn. It's a refresh of the Xbox Series X console. Now, this refresh doesn't add any horsepower to the Xbox Series X console, but what it did do is it's a digital version of the Xbox Series X with increased storage. So you don't get the disk drive, but you get 2 terabytes of storage, as opposed to 1 terabyte of storage for the current Xbox Series X. Very similar to what we saw with Microsoft unveiling the new Series S that has a 1 terabyte hard drive to it, which is an increase in storage for that particular device. And one of the things that the new Series X, I guess, Project Brooklyn, that it also will have lower power consumption, will be priced at $500. So, this device would be for someone who wants increased storage. Actually, I think that one of the biggest complaints I've had with the Series X consoles is that the storage option, or the option to increase storage, has been very expensive compared to what PlayStation has with the M.2 SSD solution. Those are fairly, they're very, very much cheaper than what the Seagate storage units or expanded storage for the Series X consoles are. And so I think that this is, again, aimed for somebody who is looking for more storage at the same price point. They would be sacrificing, obviously the trade-off would be you'd be sacrificing the disk drive for a all-digital console, but would get 2 terabytes of storage at $500. So there also coming out of the leak was the presentation. Was presented to, again, this is to Xbox leaders. Slightly revamped Xbox Series X dubbed Elwood, and a new Xbox controller. That's codename. I think is it Seabile? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. That basically, the Project Seabile contains a tilt sensor, acquired buttons, and ability to connect to a mobile app. So these are some of the things. Now, again, it's unclear if Microsoft still plans to release some of these devices, but these are some of the things that have come out from this leak. Now, more interesting, if you think about as we discuss the hardware roadmap here. Also, according to this presentation, Microsoft has already selected ARM 64 architecture for the Core's device CPU. This is the next generation Xbox, by the way. The company expects to deliver development kits to game creators by 2027, ahead of a 2028 launch date. So now we know that the Xbox Series X is looking to launch 2028. That's 8 years. We've got 5 more years left in this generation. And it will be, again, same thing. Same model in terms of a like Series S and Series X. You're going to have those tiers with the next generation of Xbox consoles. So that was some of the hardware leaks that have come out. One of the things that came out of this leak regarding the hardware is that the next-gen Xbox platform will also support AI and machine learning to attain super resolution game graphics. AI, I don't think anyone's surprised by that, by the way, given Microsoft's investment in AI. One of the other things that kind of stood out to me here too, and I'm by the way, I'm going down. There's so much information here, and this is such an impromptu wrap. I'm literally just scrolling down here and looking at all the stuff that's leaked. So I'm actually. So if you hear me pause, it's because I'm going down all the bullet points of everything that's been leaked. Again, I will probably cover. I'll cover some of the stuff, discuss some of the stuff that's been leaked, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow night on our regular schedule, BRAP at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. But also, in one of the May 22 presentations, Microsoft noted that it hopes for a handheld device as part of its Gen 10 platform, which was outside of the scope of its first-party resources, suggesting it would rely on outside firms to develop compatible handheld gaming technology. So maybe an Xbox handheld device, which should be interesting. I have my own opinions on handheld devices. I think given the capabilities of mobile devices, tablets, mobile phones, Microsoft could, people could access Game Pass through their mobile devices now. I think that's probably the. I understand why Sony didn't go. I know people were upset that Sony didn't do a like Vita 2, but it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I think if you think about having to have your first party studios focus on development for that device, and now you're in competition with devices that everyone has. I mean, everyone has mobile phones now. A lot of people have capable mobile phones. You look what Apple's doing with the Apple iPhone 15 as well. All right, let's talk about some of the games. Capono 5150 says, "Yeah, I don't understand gaming on the go. If I'm not home, then I'm busy." Yeah, Cal, we'll talk about the acquisition thing. By the way, do me a quick favor when the live chat, if you could do me a solid and retweet the link, let everyone know that we are live. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very impromptu ram, so I really appreciate. Again, this is a very national 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 Again, this is a very national. Sorry about that. The echo loop should be gone now. Yeah, Forte shows up instant problems. All right. Yeah, that was weird. Sorry about that, guys. That was something on my end. I hit something that I shouldn't have hit by accident. By the way, the Xbox Series X refresh digital-only 2 terabyte console. The target launch was leaked for October 2024. I hit the wrong button, Forte. All right, let's talk about some leaked games here. Fallout 3 remaster. Are people going to complain about a Fallout 3 remaster? I would love a Fallout 3 remaster, by the way. It's one of my favorite Fallout 3s, one of my favorite Fallouts. And I'll tell you why, because Fallout 3 takes place in Washington, D.C. And you actually fight the U.S. Capitol. You fight, and it is so. The map design for Fallout 3 is spot on to the metro system in Washington, D.C. As a matter of fact, when Fallout 3 was getting ready to release, they were advertising Fallout 3 inside the metro system. The metro is what we call our subway system here in Washington, D.C. So Bethesda actually advertised Fallout 3. You could see the banners and stuff hanging in the metro stations. And so many of the which was brilliant because many of the maps or locations you go to are underground inside these metro stations, and they are to a T how the metro stations look. The architectural design of the metro stations, the aesthetic, everything's there in Fallout 3. So I'm excited for Fallout 3 Remaster. But according to this leak, Fallout 3 Remaster, Ghostwire Tokyo sequel, Dishonored 3, which I'm excited about. The Dishonored games haven't sold well, but it's great to see if this is true. And again, these are rumors. We had nothing confirmed yet. If this is true, then I'm excited for Dishonored 3. Oblivion Remaster, which I would be excited for. I would definitely play that. Doom Year Zero. And then there's also, this is, you can see this on Resetter as well. There's a leaked fiscal year release schedule. So fiscal year 21, Starfield, we know about Starfield, that's already released. Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Redfall, Doom Eternal, Ghostwire Tokyo, Fallout Worlds, Fallout 76, Project Hibiki, Project Ubu, Project Wanderer. I don't know. That's the first time I've heard these. Well, actually, I've heard one of these, but and then fiscal year 2022, Indiana Jones, Oblivion Remaster, Elder Scrolls Online Expansion, Starfield DLC, 3 playing titles. Fiscal year 2023, Doom Year Zero DLC, Project Kestrel, Elder Scrolls Online Expansion, Project Platinum, and then fiscal year 24, Elder Scrolls 6, Project Kestrel Expansion, licensed IP game. The licensed IP game, that is another game, licensed IP game. It's not Indiana Jones. There is a rumored Star Wars game that Bethesda could be working on, or ZeniMax Studios, online studios. So these are release schedules. Again, nothing's been confirmed. These are things. Obviously, some of these things have slipped out. We're in 2023. Some of these things have slipped out of the title release schedule here that was leaked. So, now there were recent. The Dishonored thing's interesting because there were recent reports that that Deathloop was actually developed due to Bethesda turning down Dishonored 3. Now, one thing I should note with this release schedule, this release schedule appears to be from before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, which obviously impacted, releases, things like that. Project Video was Hi-Fi Rush. Okay, thank you, Miles. I appreciate that. So out of all those games that I see here, that kind of perk my ears, Dishonored 3, assuming that's real, Fallout 3 Remaster, Elder Scrolls 6, and Oblivion Remaster. Those are games that I would definitely be interested in. Curious to see if this licensed IP is actually the rumored Star Wars game being developed by ZeniMax. ZeniMax Online. All right. There's actually more articles here. Microsoft leaks 38 terabytes of private data via unsecured Azure storage. So remember I said earlier VGS was reporting that Microsoft was responsible for the leaks. And this is, again, we're getting more articles on this, and this is An article by bleepingcomputer.com. According to bleepingcomputer.com, the Microsoft AI research division accidentally leaked dozens of terabytes of sensitive data starting in July 2020 while contributing open source AI learning models to public GitHub repository. I tell you, Microsoft's having a day. Yeah, Capono, this is overwhelming. This is why I was going back and forth. Do I do a quick BRAP ramp and talk about this, or do I wait for tomorrow? And I'm like, you know what? Let me at least discuss some of the things that have been leaked quickly today, and then let me do and then let's also talk about some of the rest of the stuff that's been leaked tomorrow on BRAP. One of the things that came out of the leak, Phil Spencer's email on the huge hole Xbox games lineup for 2022, where Phil Spencer said in the email, "This is and I quote, this is really a disaster. This doesn't make sense. This really is a disaster situation for us, given all we've invested in content across studios at our Game Pass content fund. We need to learn from this and build a plan forward. We need to build an accurate list of new games launching in the next 24 months with expected dates. We need launches. Let's build across one player, two player. Not one player, two player. First party, second party, third party. Looking at Game Pass launches, and so this is the one leak that really I think is telling, and what is really kind of been my criticism of the way Xbox has managed its release cadence and development. And look, I understand people are going to say, oh, well, COVID. I get that. But Microsoft is a $1 trillion corporation. They have an abundance of resources. One of the things that came out in the leak was that Phil Spencer was very high on the reveal of the Xbox Series X hardware in 2020 and believed that Microsoft had better hardware, software as a service, and a better subscription model than Sony PlayStation. And I don't disagree with Phil there. I think they do have, when you think about the potential Game Pass has, and the fact that they release their games day and date, I think there's a tremendous upside in terms of value proposition. If you look at their ecosystem, the fact that they have allowed people to experience their first party in the Xbox ecosystem without having to buy an Xbox console. I mean, those are things that they clearly have an advantage that Sony doesn't offer. And but the issue is they haven't executed on those things, and that's kind of been the interesting part with Microsoft or the Xbox division, is that they have all these resources, they have these pillars, and they just haven't been able to build anything on those pillars per se. They haven't executed. It's almost like, I'm going to talk sports here. It's almost like when the New York Mets went out and they got all this talent, and on paper they look like, hey, they're going to be a dangerous team. They're going to be a winning team. They're going to go to the World Series on paper, right? But the problem is that the talent didn't execute on the field with the New York Mets recently, and that's what I've seen with Microsoft. And I think Phil's commentary here speaks to that. Like, the fact that that he's saying we need to learn from and build a plan forward after Game Pass was introduced back in 2017, that's concerning. The amount of money, the amount of investment that they put in first party studios, that's concerning. And their ability to manage their portfolio. He's saying it right here. Player says, I believe they hit it with Starfield. It's the second most played game on Xbox, beating Call of Duty. It's a huge accomplishment for a single player game. Yeah, I mean, look, I think Starfield is definitely a game that Microsoft needs. Bethesda has bailed Microsoft out this generation. Bailed them out. but they shouldn't have had to spend $9 billion to be bailed out. And again, I don't have an issue with companies acquiring, but this lack of game plan or this lack of investing in internal first party, I mean, this is the end result is them needing to go out and buy content. It doesn't seem like they're done, by the way. Phil Spencer talked about another platform holder that he believes would be a career move. But this is just it's interesting to see this, that, and it's good that he's saying it's a disaster situation for us, and I don't disagree with Phil's words here. It's a reason why Microsoft is in third place and has been in third place the last 20 something years. I mean, it's their ability to execute. And if anyone should be able to execute, given the amount of resources that Microsoft has, it should be Xbox. I mean, it shouldn't even be close, I think, with Sony and Nintendo. I mean, Sony and Nintendo are very small companies compared to Microsoft, and it's just astonishing to see that they don't have the resources that Microsoft has, and Microsoft still hasn't figured out in the 20 years of gaming how to make the sausage, as they say. Again, look, I will give them kudos for Starfield, but again, it's also about consistency. It's an issue I had with Washington Commanders fan. Washington Commanders fan will be like, "Oh, this is our year. We won 2 games in a row. They're doing it right now. We're going to the playoffs. Let's pump the brakes, guys. We've only won 2 games in a row." There needs to be consistency. Component says maybe this is why Sony was saying the ABK deal isn't a good idea. It's interesting. We saw the emails, and those were leaked, but those were emails that we knew about prior, where Jim Ryan was kind of like, "Hey, we're not worried about it. We think there's going to be a max exodus of talent." And I can tell you guys, when there's that perception, I'm going to put my TA hat on right now. When there's a perception of an organization acquiring another organization, that organization has a reputation of not being good per se, in terms of managing portfolio, managing the output of content, people will leave. Johnny says, I've been consistent saying these publisher acquisitions are going to be awful for us in the long term. I don't disagree with you, John. I think there's look, Sean Layden recently said, Game Industry Biz, I had an interview with Sean Layden. Sean Layden said that the companies like Amazon, Google, these endemic companies are dangerous or are dangerous to gaming. He also said mass consolidation hurts creativity in the gaming industry. And I can't say that I disagree with him. I encourage everyone to read a book or to research what choke point capital is. Talks about big tech buying everything and having control of supply chain, of customers. I really encourage everyone to Google it. Choke point capital. Look it up. And the funny thing is about like what John is saying, like my concern with ABK is just the sheer size of it, the sheer size of this behemoth in the industry, and you have this consolidation of 2 publishers. Remember, Microsoft's not only just a platform holder; they're also a publisher. So you have 2 of the largest publishers in the industry consolidating together. We've seen this in other industries where those types of consolidations haven't helped consumers. So I always just caution people who are championing things like the acquisition of ABK. Those aren't necessarily things that we should be championing, in my opinion. I don't think they benefit consumers. All right, so that part was kind of interesting. That leaked email about Phil Spencer talking about the Xbox games lined up for 2022. Again, I don't disagree with anything Phil said here, especially with Game Pass. I mean, they were 6 years in a Game Pass. Yeah, we need to. They need to do a better job at cranking it. And I'm not talking about games like Hi-Fi Rush, great game, but those aren't games that are going to really move the needle. Also, one of the games rumored to be one of the games rumored to be coming to Game Pass day one, Suicide Squad. Also, what was leaked, the cost, and this is interesting. We talked about this on BRAP quite a bit. We've talked about the cost of Game Pass to Microsoft. I remember there was an Xbox influencer who put together some really bad math, doesn't understand general accounting, doesn't understand how P&L works. I'm not going to say his name, but I mean, I don't know why he would post something like that. It's just buffoonery. But he's a big Xbox influencer, so hey, God bless him. So here's what came out of the leak. Here's what the cost Microsoft the cost to Microsoft to get games on Game Pass day one. Red Dead 2, $5 million a month. Suicide Squad, $250 million. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, $300 million. Mortal Kombat 1, $250 million. Baldur's Gate 3, $5 million. Gotham Knights, $30 million. Assassin's Creed Rift, $100 million. GTA 5, 12 to $15 million a month. Jesus, that's a lot of money. Dying Light 2, $50 million. Lego Wars, $35 million. Dragon Ball The Breakers, $20 million. Return of Monkey Island, $5 million. Wreckfest 2, $10 to $14 million a month. Just Dance, $5 million. Blood Runner, $5 million. Glitchbusters, $5 million. Now add that all up. That's a lot of money, right? You're already at $250 million, $250 million with Suicide Squad. $300 million with Jedi Survivor. Just Jedi Survivor and Suicide Squad, according to the leak, would cost Microsoft $550 million to get those games on Game Pass. The only company that can sustain that, and that's not even the cost of software development of their own first party, and the costs associated with maintaining Game Pass. So when people were talking about this acquisition, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, player. You're right. You're right. They would believe those publishers would accept to do. You're right. I'm sorry. I forgot to include that. But let's just say like these things. Let's say Microsoft gets two of these things. Okay. Let's say they get 300. They get Star Wars. They get Suicide Squad, $250 million, and then they get like another game for like $5 million here, $5 million there. That's a lot of money, and that is a thing. That is an expense that only Microsoft can absorb, and not worry about making immediate return of investment. And so when you think about Microsoft's war chest and you think about their ability to do these things, no one else can do that. And it's concerning when you have them able to leverage their adjacencies in ways that their competitors can't. When a lot of us were talking about the concerns of the acquisition, that was that. This is an example of that. Because they could actually go down this whole list and pay the money that I just rattled off here for these games. They could do that. Yeah, player. I don't disagree, but Netflix is, I mean, they have their own issues, which I won't get into. That's another conversation. It's one that Bobby Kotick's talked about, that model just doesn't make sense financially. Kotick's talked about it. Charles Zelnick's talked about it. But the fact that Microsoft can do it, they can leverage it, and they can leverage their war chest in ways that other companies can't. That's when you start getting into, again, I would encourage everyone to start Googling choke point capitalism or choke point capital. It's actually a book, but it's a theory on big tech kind of getting their grips on everything under the sun. But that's when it starts raising concerns, I think, from a consumer's standpoint. But yes, I just want to reiterate, these are the costs if the games dropped on Game Pass day one, according to Microsoft. So these are what the games would cost if they were going to go day one. All right. One thing Phil Spencer also said, at some point, getting Nintendo would be a career moment. And I honestly believe a good move for both companies. It's just taken a long time for Nintendo to see that their future exists off of their own hardware. Now, look, I don't look, companies have target list, if you will, of companies that they want to acquire or would think about acquiring. What I don't want Nintendo. I don't want Microsoft buying Nintendo, and I don't think Nintendo would ever sell to Microsoft. I don't. Yeah, player. You should talk to Ramon Terrell and ask him about the impact that Amazon has had on authors who write books. I think this is the one thing that I like, and I understand like the impact isn't evident today, but this is about tomorrow. You know, these about planting the seeds that have that impact tomorrow. That's what's concerning. But yeah, and Microsoft did. There's that story. Microsoft 20-something years ago, before the Xbox released, Microsoft went to Japan and they offered to buy Nintendo, and they were basically laughed out of the room. Nintendo was like, "No, we're not selling you, but selling to you." But I don't want Microsoft buying Nintendo, and I don't think Nintendo would sell to Microsoft. Nintendo's doing great. Leave Nintendo in their own lane. I think Nintendo. I like that I like the fact that both that Microsoft or Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo are all doing their own thing. I like that. They offer a little bit of different flavor in the gaming industry. I think that's great for consumers. But I don't want Microsoft buying Nintendo. I don't want Microsoft buying any more publishers, buying large publishers, buying Nintendo. I mean, that's huge. That would be massive. And I don't necessarily think that would be beneficial to consumers, having Microsoft control Nintendo. But I can certainly see the appeal to Microsoft owning Nintendo. I mean, you think about the metaverse, you think about the ability to license their characters in ways that Microsoft can't do right now with their own IPs. Outside of like Halo, I think there's a Gears television show in the works too. So, I mean, there's some IPs that they can leverage outside gaming, but Nintendo's got Mario. They have, I think they have a Nintendo theme park, if I'm not mistaken, in Japan. So there's opportunities there to license these characters outside of video games. So. Player Places, I think the biggest worry for me is Microsoft leaving the gaming industry if all these investments fail and we just have Nintendo, Sony, and options for console gaming. I mean, Look, I want a big three. I would like that, but that could happen. But I don't think player that that means that we should champion Microsoft acquiring more publishers because you're concerned about them not being able to compete with Nintendo and Sony. That's not beneficial to consumers either. I mean, considering the influence Microsoft would have if they own Activision, Nintendo, they could literally say to people, you know what? You want to play these games? You got to come to us. You got to come to Game Pass. I don't want that. One of the things that was kind of hey, Ice Queen Gaming, one of the things that was also interesting from this leak is that it looks like 75% of the current console base is for Xbox is the Series S. I was actually surprised by that. Series S, 75%. I'm still processing, like, I guess what that means from the consumer standpoint. I guess for me, it's clearly consumers are seeing more value in the Xbox Series S than they are the Series X. It seems like and I'm kind of like parsing these out in with the Xbox, with, the Series X, PlayStation 5 being the high-end consoles, and then the Series S kind of being that mid to low-tier console. I would say mid console, and then Nintendo Switch would be that low, and I mean low in terms of just hardware specs. But the market's spoken. I think people who want the higher, the quote unquote next gen console, they want the higher end console. They're gravitating more towards PlayStation 5. And I've argued too. Like, I've argued to people like, you really don't need a Series X. Dark Zone says Microsoft's not going anywhere. Yeah, I don't think they're going anywhere. One thing I want to say is I will say this. One of the things that excited me about the leak was that some of the games that are coming out, like Elder Scrolls 6, some of these the licensed IP game that could be Star Wars, Dishonored 3, if that's true. I mean, I think, I think the cure to Microsoft's ailments, if you want to look at Starfield as the example, is games. That's all they need to do. Release quality games, and not the hi-fi rushes. Those are nice. These big AAA experiences. I mean, look at the conversation around Starfield. It's been great. It's been great for Xbox. We see them. We see the knock-on effect to Starfield to sales in the UK. Xbox Series console sales up 75%. Month over month. That's great. They need. I think this. If they can get a consistent output of quality AAA games, they will be in a much better position. I mean, just look at the knock-on effect of Starfield. Dark Zone says, I actually like Starfield. No, I'm about 52 hours into Starfield. I like it. It is not without its issues. I think it's a good game. I see people saying it's game of the year. I don't agree with that opinion. I don't think it's game of the year. It does some things well. It does some things that aren't really good, in my opinion, from what I played. I think, and considering that this year, 2023, has been stacked with so many great content, so much great content, so many great releases. You think about Baldur's Gate 3, which I think is going to be, which is my personal game of the year, and I think it's going to win game of the year. Tears of the Kingdom, Final Fantasy 16, and Tears of the Kingdom is phenomenal. Tears of the Kingdom was actually my game of the year until I played Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, Sea of Stars. I could see Sea of Stars being that indie nod that gets into Game of the Year conversation. And I say Game of the Year, I'm talking about the Keeleys, the VGAs. And I tell you, if Starfield's not nominated Game of the Year at the Keeleys, we're going to get the whole, it's Keeley's biased, it's a conspiracy theory, it's this and that. God, the gaming conversation at times is just terrible. Terrible. I had a conversation with someone the other day about, because one of the things of the leaked emails that came out was Phil Spencer discussing how he bought the Horizon Forbidden West bundle, and he referred to it as the Force bundle. And people were like, see, Force bundle, it's anti-consumer. No, it's not anti-consumer. We got to stop abusing that word or misusing that word. Anti-consumer when Game Forte says, why are you surprised by 75%? I just am surprised. I'm more surprised by the 75% being that high, Forte. Had somebody said, oh, it's a 50-50 split. Okay. I'm just surprised that it's 75%. But, it makes sense. I mean, it's a low cost entry point for people who don't care about having, all the bells and whistles. I get it. It's why we have Golden Corral. Yeah, see, Forte, I haven't seen that. I have seen Xbox X's in my area in stores consistently since, not since launch, but since we started getting regular shipments in. Actually, I was at my Walmart yesterday and they had Series X consoles in stock. And Series S, actually. But yeah, we got to stop. We got to stop misusing the word anti-consumer. Like and what it's again people weaponizing what Phil Spencer said, saying it's a Force bundle. Again, I mean, you don't buy it. If you don't want it, you don't buy it. You still have choice. Forte, by the way, I'm not going to be able to hear you because my headphones are dead. So I have no way to hear you, buddy. I appreciate you coming in, though.
How you break your headphones?
I don't know what Forte is saying, by the way.
Why don't you have it come through your desktop audio? Oh my God.
Forte's in here. I don't know what he's saying because the headset that I use is dead. I have to get a new one. Forte. I'm sorry, Forte. I'd love to hear your voice. Yeah, no, I am Forte. I'm going to buy a new one. I'm going to buy a new one tonight. But I hope you can make it on BRAP tomorrow night if you're not working. Because I definitely would like to get your insight on Series S and stuff. So, all right. Well, look, we're gonna talk a little bit more. We're gonna talk more about the leaks. Yeah, I did play. I did talk about the controller and console, the new console earlier, but I'm gonna talk more about that tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern time on the regular schedule. BRAP. We'll talk a little bit more about the consoles and the controller. And some of the other things that have come out of the leak. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth. But all right, look, everyone, thank you so much for coming by and hanging out with us, hanging out with me this afternoon. I really appreciate the time. And I will look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be myself and the BRAP panel. Forte, I hope you can join us tomorrow. I know you've been working. Hopefully you can make it tomorrow, buddy. Really want to get your thoughts on this. And sorry, Forte, that my headset's in the crapper. But everyone, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you haven't done so, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. We will be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern time to discuss more of the leaks and some other gaming-related news as well. But until then, we'll catch you next time. Everyone, enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much for stopping by.